you still have some energy left? Yeah, I can see. Did you have a good time on your day one of Tech Chill? Still? All right. I'll take it as a yes. We definitely had a good time, and I'm very happy to welcome you on this next panel about neurodiversity, how we turn the challenges into wins, and it's my big honor to introduce you to Victoria. I could talk a lot about Victoria. She is a C-level executive, but I think the most interesting part, the way I would like to share with the audience, she's a huge advocate when it comes to the gender, diversity, also neurodiversity itself, and it's a big honor to have you here. Welcome to Tech Chill.
Many thanks, Zivile. And I saw some hands being raised about neurodiverse attendance here. So I will raise my hand as well, because I don't have TDAH or dyslexia, but I have tree thinking, which means that my brain, is working at a very fast speed, working as on a tree basis, meaning one question raise 10 questions, which write at the same time 10 questions, which happens that, for example, this morning I didn't remember to put this schedule on the right time zone, you see, because your brain goes doing 1,000 tasks at the same time. So very sorry for being late, but this is sometimes the problem of being a neurodiverse person. The most important thing is that I make it. We are here together. Many thanks, Zivile. You and I, we met already, and we had an incredible discussion about neurodiversity, the challenges that it poses, but I think we don't speak enough about the advantages which puts having neurodiverse people in our teams, in the enterprise, let's say, structures, how we should integrate them, what it means, for the business productivity, for social inclusion, and, for example, which tasks and methods we should be applying and using to get this inclusion and take the most of breed of the advantage that can suppose to have neurodiverse people in our teams, okay? So I don't know for where, Zivile, you are a great moderator. I know. Where do you want to start?
Thank you. I think a very great intro actually into the whole topic, and I've been having multiple conversations during the whole Tech Chill with many people who approached me about the upcoming panel, about this whole topic. And at the same time, we had a lot of misconceptions about what neurodiversity is, and is it part of diversity? If it's not, maybe we can start actually aligning on a definition and the concept itself, because it's everywhere in the media right now. Everyone is talking, but it seems like not all of us see that similar way. Maybe what is that neurodiversity?
Now, neurodiversity means that we have what would be called normal people, and we should apply a definition of what is your understanding of normal, okay? Normality might have different meanings depending on who are you talking to. So let's say normal thinking is what most of the population, the way they think and they interact with other people. So we have afterwards other groups that have their brain works in a different manner. Is this bad? Is this wrong? No, not necessarily. It's simply different. And this is where is a challenge for our society, is putting a judgment in just something which is different, not wrong or bad, basically. So we were talking about TDAH, dyslexia, tree thinking. Asperger's syndrome could be another example, about small groups who think in different manner, okay? Their brain work in different manner, but that doesn't mean this is necessarily wrong. It's different and can be an advantage if you know how to include it in our society and our team working. We've been talking, I think I should introduce the concept maybe of collective intelligence.
That's also a very interesting one.
There is a definition on collective intelligence. This theory is scientifically proven, says that in the addition of individual intelligence of individuals, it will be the addition greater, higher, that the individuals, they're these individuals by itself. Okay, meaning the whole addition of the team will be higher than the individuals itself. Okay, that's a good definition. However, for this to work, it won't work if everybody thinks and behaves the same way, because then you cannot provide what is so-called lateral thinking. So for this collective intelligence really be higher than individual intelligence, you need to have a diverse team. This is why diversity is so important. Can be diverse in terms of backgrounds, in terms of education, in terms of behavior. Can be different as well in terms of the way these people think. Therefore, we have a good definition, under my point of view, why it's so important to have diversity, which includes neurodiverse individuals, okay? So this is one point which is important. Now, you might say, okay, that's fine, Victoria, but how would you include then such neurodiverse people in our teams? Well, number one, it is very important for this neurodiverse or this diversity to work that each individual has a voice, is free of speaking. I've always thought as an executive person that the most difficult thing in running a team, managing a team, was basically that people tell me what they think. I'm not what I wanted to listen, to hear, you see? So in these aspects, you need to add the fact that everybody needs to feel comfortable to express their own thinking, their own ideas. And this is what it will create a dynamic for this higher up collective intelligence. I don't know, I hope this is clear or not. So, do you want me to continue?
No, I'm curious right now because you're saying also like to being aware, listening to the people, especially sometimes we don't want, if you're in a leadership role or you're a founder, you don't want to listen, for example, for feedback in the brains are wired a different way. Maybe you have some success cases or from your experience. How did you learn about your brains and how did you learn to navigate when working with people? Because in the executive level, you manage a lot of
I'm a former geek. For many decades ago, I was one of, let's say, in my generation, I was one of the scarce females being a computing engineer. Well, I always thought that I was a sort of weirdo because since I stand up in the morning, I was talking alone all the time. I mean, still I do. When I'm alone, I talk to myself all the time. So I was worried and asked it to a friend, a psychologist, okay, I talk alone, is this, should I be concerned? Say, well, she asked me, do you talk to a chair? Say, hey, I'm not a fool. Then if you don't talk to objects, it's not a serious problem. So I learned some years ago that in fact, having tree thinking, your brain can be completely overwhelmed in terms of the number of thoughts, images that come. So the fact that speech is slower than your mind calms my brain. And this is why I talk since I stand up alone. It's because this is a way of calming my brain because the speed of my words are slower than my brain. So hey, now I have absolutely no problem for talking alone. I can say it in a conference speech. I'm a normal person, and I can be perfectly inserted in society. So I think this is the first thing, to know that if you have TDAH, if you have dyslexia, if you have tree thinking, even Asperger, you see, is not a problem. I mean, you're simply different to the others, and I think that's the first thing, to reassure yourself that this is not a big issue, that you are simply different to the, maybe you form part, in fact, of 10% of the population, okay? It's like the left-handed people, they were punished during many years, and in fact, they are 5% of the population. And this is, hey, this is not a big deal. I think when talking about companies and talking about organizations, the first thing is in the terms of the culture of the organization, to recognize, that these individuals can be extremely useful. If we think about in the high-tech environment, this is my domain. Sorry, and I now understand that is my profession who chose me, not that I choose my profession. It's because when you have tree thinking, to organize your mind, you organize it like a computer menu. So now I understand why I choose computing and not something else, because this helped me to organize my ideas and organize my way of thinking. So recognizing yourself not as a problem but as an advantage, a contributor, is very important. Company culture is very important. So if we take a specific, as I was saying, a specific domain as, for example, telecom, okay, you have number of positions that are very adequate to either tree thinking or TDAH or other neurodiverse way of thinking. As an example, being an analyst, a data analyst, you need to have a visibility of enormous amount of data and to connect different data that doesn't seem related to extract a specific information, okay? This would be one specific example. Cybersecurity is exactly the same thing. Coding, of course, but so a number of it that requires a high-intensity brain, perfect for the TDAH, by the way, perfect for the tree thinking personalities, and not a problem for the dyslexia ones, okay? And even for Asperger ones. We have great mathematicians having some troubles, let's say low intensity Asperger, okay? And these are positions which not necessarily need to high interaction socially speaking, okay? So in terms of putting a value add in a company, an organization, I think high tech is one of the greatest domains to find out this sort of positions and to add value. And more we recognize that this is a huge contribution. The other thing is that, of course, the company culture, as I was saying, has to be adapted, has to be organized to integrate such individuals, you see. One other concept in such a case is the collective responsibility. When you provide collective, you implement the concept of collective responsibility, means that the whole team, for example, is responsible for a target, meaning that you may have your individual targets, but the whole team holds a specific objective. This helps in a way that everybody has to interact to achieve this same objective, you see? And therefore, nobody is let alone in their corner struggling with their own objectives, because there is a collective responsibility. And this is very important as well as a concept. There are as well tools today that provide measurements, artificial intelligence tools that can provide measurements about the team dynamics. And this may help the manager to have a better understanding if yes or not the team is aligned, and to have better integration of such individuals. And at the end, this is where collective intelligence happens, which is for the good of the company, for the good, of course, of the team, and for the well-being of all the workers in an organization.
Do you have some specific cases and tools that organizations and companies can use to support that inclusive environment?
I've seen a number of tools. I can mention one. I can mention one because I've seen this kind of tools measuring just the individual, okay? But the most important thing is that you measure the team dynamics to have an understanding if someone is not aligned, someone is let alone, someone is not feeling well in the organization. And the one that I have found out extremely impressive is team EQ. EQ as emotional quotient, team EQ. You can find it out in teameq, I think, .net or .org. I cannot recall right now, but you will find it through Google. And basically what they do is precisely that, to measure. You have a sort of app which is anonymous, and each individual of the team can, with a sort of TripAdvisor scoring, in 5 minutes give feedback about how they feel, about if they feel aligned with the objectives, with their own objectives, etc. And this artificial intelligence platform tool, allows the manager to have a better understanding of the well-being of the team, and even starting receive instructions about, hey, these are, for example, the actions that you should do. Have, for example, establish a one-to-one with some members of your team. Establish a collective meeting with this and this subject. Because it's difficult for a manager, we need to understand. Think about it, everything I'm telling requires a lot of, let's say, in between brackets, psychology. But I would say at the same time that the role of a manager has changed as well with years. We cannot manage the teams today as we managed it 20 years ago. Okay, doesn't work anymore. Doesn't work for many reasons, because our society has been evolving, because we are becoming more and more inclusive, more and more international, with different cultures. This will be another dimension if you have an international team, for example. I find out my career has been mostly with international teams, and I can tell you that this is already neurodiverse. The way people communicate in Spain or in France, Germany, and likely here in Latvia is not the same. So if you add this another dimension, becomes more and more complex to manage a team.
So how can we manage the team? What would be those kind of, how leaders can ensure that we promote that inclusive and diverse work environment? Is it some education, some tools, some kind of knowledge sharing?
Well, I think that this is something that starts with the management. As I say, number one is the culture. The company culture is extremely important, that you define, even to commence at board level, that this is an inclusive company. okay? So this starts by the very top of the company to cascade inside your organization. And when you define the culture, you need then to define the tools, the values and the tools. So the one I was giving you is an example, but in the culture is going to be as well, okay, I take as part of my target that I have neurodiverse teams, and then apply all the tools and methods required to make the inclusiveness so that all these teams became integrated, fully integrated for collective intelligence, okay? In very short manner. And as well, the mentality of the managers, the executives you are choosing. You cannot manage your teams now, as I remember was managed 20 years ago. This, I can tell you, we are in digital times, so you need as well digital tools for management, but as well a change in mindset of the managers.
Do you have some interesting cases or examples from the companies you were working with that really succeeded implementing that? Because I hear a lot, we speak about diversity, inclusion, neurodiversity, both in startups and the corporates, and in some cases there are more talking than actual execution and efforts to create that. Some good cases that maybe founders here in the audience or anyone who is building the company or trying
I saw these kind of tools implemented to measure that, well, there is a very interesting example which was I extracted from Team EQ basically, which is they measure who were the most successful teams. They have about now 6,000, several thousand workers, so in different corporations. So they can measure and make comparisons team to teams. So they measure which were the most successful teams. And guess what? They were the gender diverse teams, by the way. So they put the question the other way around. I mean, you put this, which I thought it was very clever, instead of asking, okay, are gender diverse teams the most successful? They made the question the other way around. Who are the most successful team, which appear, well, not just the gender diverse, but diverse ones in general, okay? They could measurement of, as well of the teleworking. I think this is something we cannot forget, that is, well, for me, I'm a teleworker for many decades because working internationally and in the telecommunications business, for me, using video conference and communication lines was sort of normal thing. Is during the COVID times, I discovered that the 80–90% of the business community or the society in general never used a video conference, okay? But now with COVID, we've seen that teleworking is here to stay. Hey, and this requires different methods as well for ensuring the integration as well of your teams, including neurodiverse teams, okay? So I would say these are clear examples that our society is changing and that neurodiversity is coming to stay as well, because it's part of the diversity in general and the collective intelligence, which now is recognized, you know, as a must-have for organizations.
Yeah. So as a final kind of concluding a bit what we've been discussing, how do you see the future looks like right now in our work environments?
Well, I think for me, I see this with very hopeful eyes, because I've always thought that having someone different to me is not challenging me, it's enriching me. You know, if you frequent people who are like you and think like you and have your same opinions, you know, where is the complementarity? Where is the, you know, how this is going to enrich you as a professional or as a human being? So I see this with, let's say, very positive eyes, in the fact that our society is moving to have this diversity which is going to enrich us and our collective intelligence. We will be using new tools, as I was saying, more and more to these new generations that are having problems using a phone. Today, making a phone call for new generations is sort of aggression. I was reading a scientific study whereby my generation, it was quite normal to pick up the phone, hey, in 5 minutes we sorted out the things. Now your WhatsApp generations, TikTok generations, okay, making a phone call, you need to make an appointment. Even your mom likely is going to have problems reaching you out on the phone, okay? So we need different ways, you know, to approach this new society with new communications methods that are coming on. And this is a big change that, but I think it's an extremely good change. Think about that now. You can telework from Canary Islands, you know, for a company in France, Germany, Latvia, doesn't matter. These are exciting times from my point of view.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So if you want to learn more about neurodiversity and neurodivergent individuals, you can find Victoria. She will stick around in the textual, right? It's a very interesting topic, and it can lead to many different ways when it comes to discussion.
By the way, this forms part of digital humanism, which basically is a much more holistic concept, which puts the human being at the center of the digital transformation, which encompasses not just the digital transformation, but not letting anybody behind this digital transformation. This means digital inclusion, this means financial inclusion, this means as well neurodiverse inclusion. Okay, you can find out an article from myself on my LinkedIn about digital humanism if you are interested on it.
Brilliant. Great way to end the discussion. Thank you, everyone. It was Victoria Hernandez, Neurodiversity, and have a great rest of a tech chill.
Thank you.
Thank you.